Whoa, Hanno. How about that from DJ Vladdy Daddy, our good friend Vlad? Put together that little track. I think it's still a piece in work, and he probably was like, "Don't play it till it's done." I said, "Nah, I need a new intro. We just started a new season, doing a live show tonight, kind of a preview show of the winter meetings. So we'll make up stuff and we'll tell everybody what's gonna happen, and none of it's gonna happen. But what's going down, Hanno? Gotta unmute that mic.
Sorry, I forgot about that. Man, what a way to start the show. Jacked up. That was right. That was cool.
It got me pumped up, right? It's been a long day. You had a Kraken game. You worked all day. You had a Kraken game. You had a football game. I mean, that's got to pick you up right before bed.
Yeah, it was good, man. Vladdy, he's the daddy.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you haven't checked this show out before, thank you for watching. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for subscribing, right, Hanno? It's pretty easy to subscribe to this show, right?
Yeah, definitely. It all helps us out. So thank you so much.
Yeah, just pound that shit. And listen, if you're looking for that rye bread and mustard, a Mariners podcast gear, hit up at simply.core. That's at simply.core. I get a lot of people that ask me. You can actually bug her on Instagram too. If you find at simply.cora, she's right there. You can check her out on Etsy. And also we have a partnership with In the Clutch Apparel. Hit up intheclutchapparel.com. Find all your MLB, NBA, NFL, all of this pro city sports teams. In the Clutch has got you. Also, use the promo code rye bread and mustard. Rye bread and mustard. We're going to save you some money. I heard it's a whole lot. All right. Now that we got the business out of the way, look, there's a lot of trendy names going on right before we're doing this podcast. This week, we've heard names like Brian Wu. That's been a name that's been out there. We've also heard Luis Castillo, which was one of the things that you were talking about last week before there was some serious smoke going on. We've heard, of course, Harry Ford's name out there, Colt Emerson. Those are all the Mariners, it seems like, that teams are interested in, or other news sources are kind of throwing out there. So either way, there's some sort of interest that people are talking about it. And on the other side, we got Horner's name. We got Bellinger. We got Braun Paredes. Those are the names that we are going to talk about today on this show, headed into the winter meetings. But first, you already said before we did anything, Hanno, we had to talk about this golden at bat, and we're going to get to the golden at bat here. Can we explain to everybody what the golden at bat is? And Vlad has something to say about this too. We'll roll that in, but Hanno?
Yeah, just allowing the manager to pick whichever guy he wants to pinch hit at any time in the game. I heard maybe it's after the 7th too. I heard that might change, but it's a one-time golden rule to be able to do that.
Yes, this is a real thing. This wasn't just some internet social media bullshit. This is something that came out of the owners' meetings, and possibly they want to talk about it. But yes, just to reiterate, it's fantasy baseball. Right? I mean, this is the kind of baseball you'd play when you're down at the park. I'm just thinking about being back down at the Ballard Rec Center, Adams Elementary School field out there, and you only have like 5 or 6 of you, and you kind of like move around the order and do shit like that. We're talking about this is an idea. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but Vlad, our good friend who's also joining the show more full time this season, our New York guy, here's what he had to say about it. Well, what do you think about this golden rule?
What else is there to say besides it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard? I mean,
It really
the
is.
way baseball works out, the best players in your order, the 3, 4, 5, whatever you want to call it, 2, 3, 4 now, whatever it is, they come up in the 8th or 9th inning anyways, usually, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the way baseball's designed. If you weren't getting these moments, or there was a lack of these moments in the sport, then the sport wouldn't have still been around. Nobody'd care about it. It happens all the time.
I mean, it's just the most gimmicky of things that I've heard, in the past few years when they're trying to figure things out. I mean, I've seen a lot of big people say that they would stop watching baseball, and like I would hate to be one of those guys, but it would be pretty dumb. Like,
well, look where they came
up.
up with this at. Look where they came up with this at, or talked about at the owners' meeting, which is also just a room of out of touch idiots, anyways. Look, I'm going to read something from what a team official told Jason Stark of the Athletic. It says, quote, "The world is changing. Look at the way entertainment is consumed now. Look who you're competing with. Today's fans have grown up on their phones. They're used to getting exactly what they want, what they like, what they find engaging and compelling, and they want it now. And they want to watch it in a few minutes and move on. So the golden at bat accomplishes these things." End quote.
I mean, it's just really for all these bum teams that have one hitter, and like, those teams, your team's screwed anyways. I don't know what to tell you. Don't ruin it for the real markets.
Yeah, and I don't really care about when they're talking about this generation with the phones, this and that. Sport's a sport. Like these rules remind me of, do you remember NBA and the MLB used to have a thing on MTV called like Jock Jams? This seems like a fucking Jock Jam rule.
Yeah, it's a video game rule. I mean, also, what if like, let's say you had a Rosarena, he strikes out at the top of the 9th. Now, Raleigh gets on. Now you could put Rosarena in the golden rule.
Yeah,
behind like
exactly.
Again.
Yeah, exactly. Like we strike out.
Doing?
We got Judge up there. There's one out. We strike him out. There, it's 2 outs. You're probably not going to see him. Nope, Judge is up again. No, it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. What's next? You're going to be like, well, now we're gonna. I get to pick a player from your team to hit for my. I mean, that's where this would go. That would be the next step. You allow this. This is what would happen.
Honestly, I think maybe he's just trying to get, I don't know, media.
Anyways, that's what Vlad and I had to say about it earlier. Do you have any more to add to that? What do you think about that, Hannah?
I'll just have to go with my own thing. I didn't hear a word of his stuff. You were frozen the whole time. I could see you guys, but I didn't hear a word he said.
It was good.
No. I'm sure. I mean, the only thing I can think of, a couple things, is it's stupid. I mean, what are we gonna have next? If a pitcher strikes out the side, is the defense going to get a run? I mean, this is just so Savannah bananas. They're coming to Seattle if you want to go watch this kind of stuff. I wish Manfred would be more concerned with, like, I don't know, maybe getting the strike zone fixed by the umpires. How about the Oakland A's? Let's get them freaking to stay home, where they belong in Oakland. Just those kind of things. I mean, I get it why he does that, trying to spice up the game. But this year was one of the most popular World Series and viewed in many years. I mean, the game's popular. Sure, it was LA versus New York, but I don't know. This is just over the top for me.
Yeah, well, Vlad was saying there too. It's so stupid. It's the dumbest thing he's ever heard. He goes, but maybe it's just a way to get press. But he was saying, like, like big people were saying, "Hey, I'd quit watching baseball if they did this." I mean,
Oh yeah,
I don't know
the
if
purist.
I mean, yeah, purist. You couldn't have this game, but I just it's not going to happen. But even to entertain the thought and even to bring it up, even if it is a thing to get clicks, it's annoying. Like the way the game is right now, I think is fine. I'm not a big fan of the ghost runner, but whatever. I'm not a big fan of the how many times engagements over to first base, but whatever. Like those are smaller things. This would screw everything up. It's not going to happen. Just want to join the rest of the purists. I wouldn't even call it purists. Rest of
Yeah.
the logical people out there and say, fuck no.
Yeah. I mean, I heard another guy say, I mean, what if they pinch hit the ninth batter and they bring up Ohtani, bases are loaded, and then he does whatever, but he's up to bat next, so he gets 2 at bats in a row. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah. that I know it's and if that happens, then what's next? And that was the problem with changing some of these other rules, is that this kind of shit's always going to get brought up. And maybe these are things that have always been brought up, but now they're getting leaked. So
Yeah, just too gimmicky. Takes
yeah.
the strategy
And
out. It's just, I mean, the 3 batters by the bullpen pitcher, I get, that kind of helps the strategy and speeds up the game. But this would just dramatically change strategy. I'm not good with it.
No, and look, it's not going to happen. Just want to at least talk about it because it's there. Everybody's giving their points of view on it, but
Have
to
you
me,
seen anybody
again,
have you seen anybody that was for it?
no, I haven't seen anybody that was for it. But just reading this article that you missed there, where I was reading it just some of the comments that a owner or team official told Jason Stark about. It's basically an entertainment move, and the way people are consuming entertainment, the fast pace, we want it now. And it's like, well, then those aren't the people that you need to watch the sport. I'm not here to cater to people that have no attention span. That's not why we watch baseball in the first place.
Yeah, I hear you.
Well, now that we've gotten you off our lawn, Hannah, one of your favorite people, Chuck Willery, 2-2. We're gonna dedicate this first break before we come out. God rest his soul, Chuck Willery, R.I.P. I don't know if you knew that, Hannah.
I heard it actually. John Forsland and Eddie Olczyk on the Kraken game were talking about it. I had no idea.
Yeah, I know. You've been using this material ever since we've been doing that show. So, with that being said, Hannah, we'll be right back and talk about all of those other names in 2-2.
Get ready to play hardball in the Kingdom.
Take me to the ball game. I want to see the Ants. The Mariners are playing hardball. Did it again and again and again. Did it again.
Princess Tours, the vacation company, brings you the best show in baseball when the San Diego Chicken plays hardball with the Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles tonight in the Kingdom.
Mr. Buhner, will you play Pepper with me?
I can't, son. It's against the rules.
How many times have you heard that? Hi, I'm Ken Griffey Jr. When I'm not running the bases, I'm running for president. Vote for me, and I promise to erase every no pepper sign in America.
Mr. Griffey, will you play Pepper with me?
Sure, kid. Could you help me out with some swing states?
Yeah, I guess.
Let's shoot it every foot in a pepper game in every backyard.
I think Ken Griffey is spending too much time on the field, not enough time on issues like the flat tax.
No pepper? I say yes to pepper.
Look, pepper was outlawed for a reason. It tears up the turf.
You know how big this thing was? Look at this. Pepper ban, and right under there, Korean War ends.
The man don't want you to play pepper. You gonna listen to the man? If you outlaw pepper, only outlaws will play pepper.
So where's the candidate stand on real issues, like the flat tax?
I mean, if they're so smart in Washington, why don't they have a baseball team?
Baseball without pepper is like baseball without baseballs.
Hey, anyone can champion pepper. It takes a real man to champion the flat tax.
It's pepper that people want. They don't care about the minimum wage, the flat tax. They want pepper, and they want it now.
Pepper to the people, man. Land of the free? Why can't I play pepper?
Jefferson should have said life, liberty, pepper in the pursuit of happiness, but it just didn't sound right. But that's what they meant to say. I know that.
And where's this moose stand on the flat tax?
Yeah, just want to give everybody a big reminder to register and get out there and vote. Oh, that was last month. Sorry. Anna, we mentioned some of the names. It's very clear the Mariners are on the search, it seems like, for third baseman and a second baseman. And it seems like maybe over at first base they're going bargain hunting. I mean, to be honest, they're probably going bargain trade hunting for everything. But the Mariners are about to pull up to the winter meetings with a little bit of heat, a little bit of rumors. They're in there. One of the names that it seems like they've been linked to the longest, it seems like it's the third baseman in Philadelphia, Alec Boehm. Is that how you say his last name? Boehm. He was an all-star, had a hot start to the season last year, faded in the second half. There's also been some rumors of maybe some locker room issues. And it seems like there were some talks and they seemed to snag when they wanted Logan or Kirby in exchange. That's kind of where I'm at on the story. I was checking out what Adam Jude had to say about it, that the Mariners balked on that once that was the case. You got anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's obviously the Mariners would say no to that. I mean, it's just a bad idea. I mean, you think about, why does Philly want to get rid of him? Sure, he has something going on. Why do they want to get rid of him? He also, had a beef with the fans back there at one point. He would be an upgrade, I think, for us over at third, at least offensively. But that's just too much. I could see, I wouldn't hate the Mariners, going after. I think it's an improvement. That's what the Mariners need, to improve players around there. And some sort of prospect, I'd be up for it. But he hit in that Cracker Jack box in Philly. I talk about the Yankee Stadium and tease Vlad, but that's even a more hitter friendly park. And his power numbers have gone down. I mean, what's going to happen when he hits here at the Grand Canyon out west, So those are just things I think about. But hopefully he can rekindle his game, Like I said, I still would be happy with him,
Yeah, I would for some prospects, sure. Trading anybody from the starting five, does that make your team that much better? No. Look, yeah, there's no doubt he drove in 97 runs last year, hit 280, 15 home runs. OPS with those numbers, it's under 8, and that's because he had a big slide there in the second half. And I was listening to your boy Puck, and I was listening to him and Divish talk, and Divish pointed out, hey, this is one of these players that's only had a couple of really good months in his career, and the rest of it has not been great. But these months that he has had are pretty hot. I also heard what Puck had to say, and I agree with him. If this guy's a 280 hitter playing decent third base for you, makes an all-star team last year, why are you trying to move him?
Yeah, absolutely. I get it. It makes you wonder why. They're so close. Have a good team. What are they thinking? Are they going out to get Bregman or one or other of those guys? There's a couple other free agents that are out there, as we know, at third base that Philly could get. But, it's a lot of money, and that's obviously why the Mariners aren't involved in any of those guys.
I mean, he's only making 8.1 next year. And then he has one more year of arbitration and then unrestricted free agent. So, but 8 million, let's just put this in perspective. Eugenio Suarez making 15 million. And your boy from Houston, the free agent Bregman, he's going to. Is it? I always screw his name up. Is it?
It's Bregman.
Bregman. Sometimes I call him Bergman. Bregman. He's gonna break the bank too. And you saw what the third baseman, like you said, the third baseman we tried to get last year, ended up in San Francisco, got himself a big deal. Chapman. So I mean, we know what the going rate was, and I think Rojas was going to be like 5-6 million for what he was doing. Of course, it would be an upgrade. For me, I would none of the starters. I don't feel like swapping a Kirby for him is going to make your team better at all.
Yeah, I mean, you're right on there with Rojas. It would be doubled what Rojas is expected to get this year. I think he was about 4 this year, and this guy makes 8. And I like your scenario. Yeah, it's under what they, even what Eugenio was going to get paid that year that we traded him. I think he was up around 11 or 12. And like you mentioned, he had a good year, and they're re-signing him for like 15. So it's just kind of the going rate. So, I mean, when we think about the Mariners, it always has to come down to the moolah, the money, how they can fit these players in what they want to do. So
yeah, it's like the Mariners are going to the winter meetings. We're all excited about it, right? But it's also just kind of like they're getting dropped off the mall to go to the movies and play video games and their parents only give them like $15. That's what it's like. That's how it feels. Another name that we have been linked to also this offseason, we talked a little bit about it on our kickoff episode, was Nico Horner, second baseman, Chicago Cubs. There's been a lot. There's been multiple scenarios of how the Mariners are linked to him. I believe there's even a 3-way trade. I believe I heard that actually on the Lockdown guys, and then I looked up all the sources. Let's see, David Kaplan in Chicago. Set this up here for you. Just a second. I'm having an issue. We'll go back to Nico Horner. Anyways, there was a proposed like 3-way
Well, it looks like Myron got frozen up and we lost him. He was talking about Nico Horner. Yeah, I mean, hopefully Myron get back on here and get this train back on the tracks as he's the conductor. But yeah, Nico Horner, I mean, I think it would be a massive upgrade from what they've had. It's a player that seems like, and the position at second base that the Mariners have been looking to fill for many years, the last 3 at least. They went out and it's been a revolving door there with Frazier to Wong, and then Polanco last year. Do you think we could go a full season this year with having Dylan Moore there? For me, I don't like that idea. I mean, I like Dylan Moore, and like I always told Myron, having Dylan Moore on your team is a good player, but he's a player that you can plug and play, and that is a role player, not a starter. Yeah, you can spot start him there, but at second base, it's just been one of those positions where it's been a problem for the Mariners. What do you think that it would cost to trade him? I mean, I'm not up on it, but I would guess at least one of our starters. He's a quality pitcher. I haven't looked into him, or player. I haven't looked into him too much, but it's got to be one of our guys. And then I've heard the name Cody Bellinger that the Mariners tied to. I mean, is that something that we could get a package deal with Castillo and another pitcher for those two guys? I mean, I don't want to sell off two starting pitchers to get those two players. I wouldn't mind one of those, like a Castillo, and then maybe like a mid-level prospect, So, I mean, all right, the conductor just called. He's trying to get this figured back out and rebooted. But yeah, that's just the way I look at it is, I don't want to give up. Let's see. I mean, he mentioned Wu earlier and a Castillo. I mean, don't you think that's too much for Bellinger and Horner? I mean, I kind of do. Does that really improve the Mariners that much? I mean, I feel like it takes away from their strength, which is their pitching staff. We all know that. But yeah, I've heard other things. I mean, what do you guys think about this? Today we're talking about starting pitchers and trading them. They got to be worth something now, I would think. We saw today that Luis signed a big deal, almost $70 million for 3 years, like $67 million with Oakland. That's just a massive deal for a player like that. I mean, when was the last time Oakland, gave a guy a contract like that for 20 years or so? It's just unreal. So they're back in playing it. They want to fill hands in Vegas. But my point is what pitchers on the open market are getting right now is just incredible. So, the Luis Castillo, like I mentioned, it might be something where he can get you a lot in return. I mean, I just gave you Severino's contract. Well, Castillo, about the same age, way better pitcher in my opinion. And he's same amount of years of deal, but it's only a few million more. It's like 71 million left on his deal for 3 years. I mean, just incredible, the difference between those two guys. So I just feel like that's the kind of player that should get you a lot in return, and Luis Castillo. So, the conductor's back. Good to have you back. I don't know if I was on, but yeah, good to have you back. Paid the power bill.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So yeah, I just tried to wing it and talked about the Horner stuff with Bellinger. Mentioned a couple players, Castillo, and possibly Wu, a couple names you brought up, and then my last point was just saying, with a Severino contract that was signed today and what he's getting on the open market, possibly. Does that make a Luis Castillo as a trade partner worth a lot more? So that's kind of where I took your show while you were paying the bills. So that's where we're at right here, partner.
That's exactly what I was going to talk about. It's interesting. The Castillo scenario though with Chicago Cubs, if they would be interested in it, is interesting because they would be getting rid of Bellinger to get out of that contract. So would they be wanting to pick up more money in another contract in Castillo? Castillo has more years on his contract left. Bellinger has a player option next year, which he'll probably pick up. But you do look at Castillo's worth, because of the declining speed on his fastball a bit, is something concerning too. So is this two players that you would, let's just say you traded them straight up hypothetically, is this kind of the same situation with Mitch Haniger and Robbie Ray?
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I mean, when I was talking about those two Cubs, I was bringing Horner in it if it could be a deal where we could get both of them. So like, and I figured it would cost Castillo. I mean, it'd be great to get both those players for just a Castillo. I don't think that's going to happen, but I said, well, maybe it could be another one of our starting pitchers, and I don't really want to detract that much from our team to get those two starters. Maybe if it was Castillo, who I prefer, we've talked about, and maybe a prospect for those two guys. Yeah, I could see that, but I can only go off of like probably what you're talking about. That the Cubs are interested in Castillo, so I haven't looked at the numbers on Bellinger. Do you have him offhand? What his contract is?
I believe next year I'm going to pull it up right now, but I believe off the top of my head, his contract's, I believe, around 25 million next year, and then I believe he has I'm going to pull it up though, so I'm not just guesstimating. Because last year he signed a 3-year deal, but I think the third year, the third year is a player option. He's 27.5 million for 2025, player option of 25. 2027 unrestricted free agent. And then if you pull up Luis Castillo's contract, let's see, I believe what he's making 24.5. We said last year.
Yeah.
So the numbers are kind of screwy there. I mean, like let's see, 24.5 this year. Let's just assume Cody Bellinger, there's no reason, unless he has a monster year, he's not picking up that player option. So then it's another 24. So you're about the same. But then 26 and 27, you got another $50 million that you'd have to pay Castillo. So I get it if the Mariners could move him. Sure. I get that. And that was kind of the scenario where I said if they could sign Sasaki, then sure, you could make this move or you could make another move. But the Castillo for Bellinger, I don't see how that would work. I mean, you'd have to have, I guess that's where Chicago White Sox are kind of in there, right? With the Horner thing, or they want to make something happen. But it seems like Chicago is a city or an area where there's a lot of heat and a lot of movement possibly happening.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely want to improve their club, but I'm glad you mentioned Sasaki. I mean, that's really the golden ticket, or whatever the Rob Manfred thing is. That guy, with how young he is, with how talented he is, and the main thing, and especially means the most to the Mariners office, is the controllable years for not much money. I mean, that would just be the ultimate. If the Mariners could pull that off, then, have at it who you want to trade off,
Yeah, I would like that scenario because right away you're investing into a team control, right? And that kind of makes it, and let's just say he continues to be the LeBron James of the sport, as he's been called over there. Then that makes you, not so, dependent on having to move or hold on to people that be like a Kirby or even a Logan or a Wu or a Miller. If you did make that move with one of the guys that you don't think you're going to be able to sign long term, then you're kind of just revamping that control. That's what I like. But again, he hasn't pitched against major league pitching, and except for in the WBC or hitting, excuse me. So I mean, we haven't seen him at this level.
Yeah, that's true.
Another guy that's on this list, and I heard JP Morosi bring up this guy again. He's on his last year of his contract. We kind of heard about him last year, and that's Isaac Paredes down in Tampa Bay. Possibly a fit for the Mariners. If you look at his contract, 6.2 this season.
He got traded from Tampa Bay to the Cubs.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I just figured you misspoke.
Yeah, I did. Sorry. Yeah. So he's another guy out there in Chicago that possibly could get moved. I mean, if you look at his contract, like I said, 6.2 and some change. then arbitration year in 27, arbitration year in 28, unrestricted free agent. And in that year, he'll be 29 as an unrestricted free agent. So still young, 26. You look at his numbers from last year, they don't really like pop out at you too much, but we've seen this guy do some damage.
Yeah, you're exactly right. During the trade deadline last year, when he was with Tampa, like you were saying, that is a name that kind of popped up possibly for a deal with the Mariners. But Chicago, at least in my opinion at the time, came in and just kind of snuck in and took him. I mean, it was kind of surprising from what I remember. But, I mean, I'm just looking at it this way now, Myron, as far as the Mariners. Are they upgrading at positions? I mean, that's basically these last 3 years. You know how down I am about the Mariners ever since they made their last, trip to the playoffs. But I just look at it now. If they just get a player and improve, I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? He's a better player than Rojas, so I'm good with it. That's the only way I can look at it. I can't get fired up for the Mariners in the hot stove of what I used to get like. I mean, they just let me down too much. That's just how I'm feeling now.
Well, with Paredes, he can play both corners. He has played some second base. I don't know if that's still in his game right there. But then if I'm Chicago, you're like, well, if you're giving up this guy, then what are you doing at third base? But also if they're investing in the future and they're trying to get Colt Emerson and they're trying to get a Harry Ford, then I guess it ain't all about this year. But then why are you trying to get Castillo? So I don't really understand what their motivation of it is all about. And that's why I feel like the math is screwy right there. Screwy right there. But again, Isaac Paredes, as somebody that's affordable in the Mariners range of what they can spend and what they want to spend. So that does make me think that some of the interest is there.
Yeah, it's the hot stove. Anything could happen. That's for sure. I mean, this is the most I've heard, as far as who the Mariners have been involved with, ever since, the off season started. It's been very popular having the names thrown out with the Mariners, in the last couple of days. So it's good. It's getting going here.
Yeah. And the Mariners, I believe, picked up a compensation A pick, as it's called. It's one of these, from what I understand, it's some sort of extra pick in the draft. It's the 33rd pick.
Okay.
Also could be a bargaining piece too in this. I feel though like Colt Emerson, Harry Ford possibly might not be in camp this year for the Mariners. I think to make some of these deals work and to stay with your strengths, those are the guys that are going to have to get moved.
Yeah. The guys you expect trade to be the ones to go, huh?
Yeah. And again, if you're going to be making this commitment to Cal Raleigh, Ford has got to go. I mean, what's the point of having him if that's the case? You already got a $12 million backup catcher. This guy wants to play catcher. Yeah, for one more year.
I mean, you think Harry Ford would be up this year? I mean, possibly at the end of the season, I'm thinking, but not right away. I mean, I think he's probably projected to start in AAA, but I'm kind of a little different on Harry Ford. He hasn't proven than you. He hasn't proven anything yet, but if he could, break the squad at some point, let's not say this year, say maybe next year, he could be a back. He's played other positions. Maybe he could be a little versatile. Maybe his stock could go up and he could really pop in, his first year if he makes the big leagues coming up here, and then maybe his stock can go up and we could, get more out of him to flip him. And then the other way to look at it too is, maybe he could fail and his stock won't be any higher until, as it is right now. So there's a lot of ways to look at it.
Yeah, we've had plenty of those players too, where their stock was high. Yeah, most of them. One of them you traded a year ago today, I believe. I know that was maybe something we were going to talk about. Let's just talk about it right now, but we'll talk about that going into break. 1 year ago, we traded Jared Kelenic. I believe it was December 3rd or December 4th. It was a week, I believe, before or headed into the winter meetings last year. I know how you felt about it at the time. I was a little confused about it at the time, but okay with it. A year later, how do you feel?
Oh, I mean, is the overall trade, is a massive salary dump. And, in the beginning of the Mariners dumping salary like we have never seen or expected, at least last year. It was just a total surprise. So on that aspect, it sucked. On it, just as far as Jared Kelenic, the player, I didn't really check in on him at the end of the year. I'm sure he was pretty much like he was as a Mariner as far as numbers. Atlanta had a down year, a lot of injuries. I would be, the Mariners got their hitting coach. I'm interested to see what this year's going to be like for him down there. See if he learned a lot. Atlanta, I always thought would really help his career with their coaching staff and stuff. But, maybe he is a quad A player like a lot of people have said. And he never will really figure it out like everybody expected him to up here.
Well, if you want to know his line last year, he got his 400 at bats, hit 231, 15 home runs, 45 RBIs, OPS 679, slugging 393. Not a great year. I feel like you're better off. You're better off with having a combination of Luke Raley and, of course, Victor Rojas, who's actually Victor Rojas closer to his age. I mean, just right there, I feel like it is an improvement from Jared Kelenic. So I'm fine with it. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if one of these years he finally figures it all out. Still young, but he's had a lot of chances here in the major leagues. And we're going to a quick break of just one of our favorite clips of. Oh, you have something to say? One more.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you kind of looked at it a little differently than I was looking at it, and kind of look at the trades. You kind of talked about the players now that are playing the position that he plays, which I get makes sense. I guess for what we got in return for him and what. And for what we received back, yeah, we got that bullpen pitcher that hurt his arm last year. I can't remember his name. Throws really hard. It'll be interesting to see what he does. I know the Mariners were really high on him, and I think there was another player. So I kind of just looking at it as far as a trade thing. Yeah, it was massive for the money, and in reality, and us getting rid of Evan White and his money, and then also Marco, and giving our other pitchers a chance to pitch in the rotation. So I guess as far as what I was looking about the trade, like players for players, yeah, it's I totally agree with you. The position was filled a lot better last year, but I'm not sure the trade is really anybody's really won it yet as far as Atlanta's trade from Seattle.
Sure. If we're just talking about from a trade standpoint, right now they're winning because they got some sort of production. We didn't get any sort of production. As far as where the Mariners are at with that position, I'm very happy compared to Jared Kelenic. And with that being said, who else didn't care about when Kelenic left? We'll take this out to break. We'll be right back. And we're going to talk about where we think Juan Soto is going to land, and also, let's be honest, a lot of these moves and things aren't going to happen until he gets locked up. So we're talking about that. But let's just flash back to a year ago.
Hello.
Well, Grandma, Jared Kelenic, no longer a Mariner. He's an Atlanta Brave. What's your feelings on it?
My feelings are I really don't care. He wasn't one of my favorites. The one that kicked the water cooler?
That's who he is. He was very passionate.
Yeah, well, maybe he could go get a job with the Seahawks as a kicker if things don't work out with a lot of Braves.
So you didn't like his attitude?
No, I didn't care for him at all. But I was always under the impression that you kind of liked him when they brought him in up there. Does Hampton like him? Well, he wasn't my favorite, I'll tell you that. So I can't. I wish him luck, but I can't shed any tears over him going, and leave the rest of the team kind of alone.
Supercross this weekend in the Kingdom. The Coors Beer Supercross doubleheader. Get ready, Seattle, this Saturday night at 7:30 and Sunday afternoon at 2. The 1988 AMA Supercross Tour, Motorcycle Mania, on an incredible dirt battleground that treats man and machine the same way. With absolutely no respect. See the best. National champion Jeff Ward, former champion Ricky Johnson. Tickets at all Ticketmaster locations, including the Bond, Tower Records and Video, and participating Honda dealers. The Coors Beer Supercross.
Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast.
We have the one and only Mr. Tom Hutler. Do you have any of your favorite stories from the Kingdom?
There was a time we had an earthquake, and so they were going to evacuate the building. So I was like getting up to go and leave, and they go, "No, you can't go. You got to read these safety things." It's like,
do we need to tell them that there's smoking's only on the exterior ramps?
Yeah. And Dave came shooting past. He signed off. I'm going, wait, I'm the only one here.
Listen and subscribe to Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast, wherever you get your podcast.
All right, we are back. Listen, I know this is a Mariners podcast, but every year, just like last year, Ohtani was the man that made everything work, the straw that stirs the drink in the offseason. Dodgers land him. They win the World Series. You know about the deferred payments, the gambling, everything. We know this year's story, a bit quieter, but it's been interesting so far. Juan Soto. It seems like just like how we predicted every other day, there'd be somebody else new that's sitting on the pot. It seems like right now, as far as it looks, kind of seems like it's the Mets are the ones going the biggest here, and they don't care about blowing money. They're the exact opposite of the Mariners. We've also heard Toronto in there, New York, the Dodgers. What are you thinking about Juan Soto? Do you think it's going to happen now? Do you think it's going to happen during the meeting or after? Hano?
Well, I mean, when do you think the Mariners had their talk with their baseball ops about how much, what it could take for the Mariners to get Juan Soto? Let's start there first. I mean, do you think they even had a conversation with like, this is what it's going to cost, this is going to be our pitch for Soto?
Yeah, it's like somebody coming and pitching. I don't know, like you go on one of those timeshare things, and you're just like you're just kind of going through the motions. You're not going to spend. I mean, when we're talking about Juan Soto, it's window shopping. Yeah. I mean, it is.
But yeah, absolutely.
I think if the Mariners were in a different situation, hear me out though. I know that they don't like to spend money. Let's just say the Mariners were flat on their belly and this organization was going nowhere, and we didn't have what was going on right now, and maybe having to, shell out some money for some of these young guys. I think maybe you could see them make a bigger splash just to try to get something going. But you add that to the fact to that, and then the, proposed or rumored, I don't know if it's completely confirmed, but it sounds like it, the 16 million to 20 million. You're not going to see this team over, 160, 165 million. You already know that. So I'm saying if you didn't, and you also have dead money as far as I'm concerned. I know it's not completely dead, but you have Mitch Haniger and you have Mitch Garver's contracts. So right there's about $30 million that I'm sure Jerry and Justin and everybody that's probably listening wishes the Mariners had. Then maybe you could be in a conversation if you didn't have that.
Yeah, I know. I was just trying to be funny. I mean,
it didn't work.
There was one no kidding. There was no conversation. I will have to disagree with you if I'm taking you correctly. There's no scenario ever where this ownership would pay for Juan Soto, anything, even a massive AAV for low years, and definitely not what he's being reported to be asking for or getting. But back to your normal question, or your first question was, I've heard all those things you mentioned. I kind of am leaning with the Mets, but I did hear, I don't know if you heard this, Toronto, I heard they told Scott Boras that whoever offers him, whatever, we're going to not only match it, we're going to exceed that. So come back to us at the end. So does that mean no matter what, he's going to Toronto because he's going to get the most money? So that's kind of what I've heard out there on the Juan Soto front.
That is a very romantic way to put it to him. Like, I don't care what anybody else tells you, anybody else gives you. You come back to me, and I'm going to beat that. I'm going to take care. It's me and you. So hopefully this video works for you and the people out there. I know it'll sound great on the YouTube or when it's not live or on the podcast version. But this is what Vlad, and if you're newer to the show, Vlad, who comes on here, New York Yankees fan, he's our Yankees guy, likes to talk shit. But it was interesting to ask him what he thought was going to go on with Juan Soto, him being a Yankee fan again and him being a big Soto fan. Hopefully you can catch this, Hanno. Look, Vlad, the biggest name, obviously, going into this offseason, Juan Soto. As a Mariners fan, I have given up on that when we know that what our payroll is going to be. What's going on? What are they talking about over there in New York?
Well, they're saying the last thing I seen was that there were 6 teams. I think just it's really Boris going to work right now. It's Toronto, Red Sox, Mets, Yankees, Phillies, which is a name that I just heard back in today. And who else? And the Dodgers. So, I mean, me personally, after watching him for a full year, I think we need him. I love him. I'm not really that worried about it, to be honest. But, anything can happen. And, he's made it very clear that he wants, the most money. And we'll see if that's true. But, I've just kind of gotten accustomed to the games that are played in these late hours. So I'm really not too concerned unless the Mets just kind of lose their mind and, make him an offer he can't refuse. I can't really see him going to any of these other places. I mean, the Dodgers are only signing people with Bitcoin and whatever, horse shit the ways they're signing people. I can't see him doing that. Toronto, I guess the Canadian taxes are so high that they would have to blow somebody out of the water too to get them. So I mean, I will say this is probably like a 5 to 10% of me that does actually think that we might be better off not signing them. But like I said, that's a 5 to 10%, just because of our flexibility in the outfield. He has to play right. Judges, damn near Gold Glove right fielder, and then we have to force him to center. We've had problems in the outfield in general, but and just kind of like, is he really worth what they're saying? I mean, now I'm hearing it would be an average of around 43 to 46 million a year. That he's worth it. I do think we need him just because what he brings. He has balls of steel. I just had to watch Judge do nothing in the World Series, and so we need A1 and A2. You know what I mean? So, but if you told me they didn't sign him and they signed Burns, I don't know, what's his name, Santander, Alonso, or just some other combination, and put together a real infield. But I think that we could do all of those things. So I think we could get Soto, get a starter, and then get some B-level, but good guys. We don't need a 40 home run hitter in the outfield, but we just need good ball players. So,
well, for me, I just hope he goes back to the National League. So that's it. I hope he goes back to the National League. I hope it's some team I don't have to see. The Toronto Blue Jays, that would still kind of be a problem. Goes back to you guys, then again, you guys would be the team that you got to go through in the AL.
But I could see how all the other market, teams just kind of want this to be over, like you guys, because nobody else can make a move. Nobody's doing anything till he's off the board. for everybody. But
Hannah, were you able to catch any of that?
No, I don't know. I wasn't. I got like the first couple seconds, and we'll have to
Well, I
figure
think
it out so I can hear the.
The Rollins, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we got to pay some other bills. We probably have to upgrade. They always want you to upgrade on StreamYard. They're like, having problems for the things that you're already paying for? Well, there's another upgrade for you. Basically, he's just reiterating that, like, he doesn't think that anything's really going to happen big until he moves. He also isn't too worried about it. He wants Juan Soto back, because he's so clutch. He's watched Judge not be clutch. But also, would the Yankees be better off if, for the price he's asking, to go get two other players with the team they already have? So it's interesting. Like I said on there, if you did miss that, I just want him to go back to the National League, go far, far away from us having to deal with him. That'd be, I guess, a win for me this offseason.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But it does feel good this year. Like, even though I know I was living in the delusions of grandeur, but last year, just maybe Ohtani was going to come. Maybe, just maybe, even though there wasn't any hope. This year, I have not even put my pinky toe in the pool on the Juan Soto sweepstakes.
Oh, okay. I agree with you definitely on that. I'm, as far as just the Mariners and expectations of offseason moves, that's what I've given them for their offseason. Pinky or absolutely zero expectations for the Mariners. I mean, I guess, call me sour, call me negative, call me a Mariner fan for 30 plus years, call me, getting excited, liking what the Mariners were going to do when they kind of tore this down. What Jerry said, when we get these, crops of players up, which we did, when we make the playoffs, we're taking an extra step, and boom, we all know what's happened. So I guess I'll be excited. I'll root very hard for them. But as far as my expectations, I just don't have it, brother.
All right. Well, we've reached the part of the show where we're almost done here. And we are going to check out some listener comments that we have. Let's play a little music underneath. Let's get some music going underneath there. Okay, we got some comments. Did we get to these ones already when I apologies again for when my shit went down. Did we hear Keith, as good as Nico is, I don't like the floating of Emerson going around. Did you already cover that?
I didn't see any comments, no.
Okay, we have one that says, as good as Nico is, I don't like the idea. I don't like the floating of Emerson personally.
Yeah, I didn't talk about him. Yeah, I get it. Huge prospect, in our organization. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I haven't really thought about it that way, but that's a good way to look at it for sure. I wouldn't want to trade him for him. I agree with him, actually. I agree with Keith.
Let's go over to our YouTube. Let's see what's going on over there. If you're not subscribed, you should be subscribed. This was a little way to wedge that in there. Let's see. Last episode, Seth at Seth W4J. Good to see you guys back at it. Best Mariners podcast out there, hands down. Looking forward to more. We're gonna give that a nice thumbs up. All right.
Is that your cousin, Seth?
I don't have a cousin, Seth.
Okay, I want to make sure.
Yeah. No relations. Nobody I paid either. I have no idea. But Seth, you sound like family to me.
Yes.
At Passionately 44. If we have to choose, I would say Turner. He knows the current group of guys better than Santana. I think that goes back to when we were talking about Santana and Turner.
Yeah. That's right. I remember that. And you were even talking about there was a possibility of getting possibly both of those guys. And I was like, please, no.
Yes. And he also says, although I wouldn't mind both, neither would I. I mean, I anything would be better than anything. But anything would be better than nothing. But as getting the news that we're hearing right now, maybe there are better options there, better options that maybe we could see the Mariners take advantage of. And yes, for the record, I think it would work short term. Hanno says he would not be thrilled. Says, yes, I heard Hanno's response on the video. Didn't mean long term either way. Turner would most likely be a 1-year deal anyways. I agree. And Santana, not sure, but if he is longer, that would be okay. Also, this would be ideal for the Mariners because it would be within their budget. Agreed, within their budget. Then we have somebody at Chad the Piper 4386. The last one I'll do because we're running out of time here. It's non-tendered, not non-tenured. I understand that. And I did respond to him. Sorry, we'll smoke less of the devil's lettuce before next show. Sorry, I was saying the wrong words. If you're new to the show and you're looking for a mistake or a perfect game here, you're not going to get it here on the Rye Bread Mustard and Mariners podcast. Anyways, that's pretty much our show for this evening. We'll be back, hopefully we're back when there's some damn, breaking news, but we will be back definitely during the winter meetings. Again, thank you for liking, subscribing. That really helps us out. Check out In the Clutch. Use that / promo code Rye Bread Mustard. Also at Sibley.Cora for all your rye bread and mustard gear. Hanno, you got anything else to say here before we get out of here?
No, just don't fear the gear. Go get that rye bread and mustard gear. I mean, it's nice stuff. I got it right there.
Look, you got it on right there.
Special single edition for old Hanno from the manufacturer herself, just for the Winter Classic that I was going to. So the really cool stuff she can do. So
yeah, and I think that was your highlight of the year at T-Mobile, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was last year. Yeah, the Kraken won that, first team ever in Winter Classic history, I believe, to pitch a shutout. So
nice. Seth gets on here. Sup, boys? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I do remember him from last year. He was.
Yeah.
The only thing I got to say is go Ballard Beavers. If you want to go see a good game, you're catching this on Friday. It's Ballard High School's first home games of the winter season, specifically talking about basketball. Shout out to my niece, Hannah, freshman on the varsity squad. They're 0-2 so far. Hopefully they'll turn things around. You and I will be there next week to check them out. Taking on our blood rivals, the Blanchette Braves. Oh, yeah. Whoa! Sorry, it's Bishop Blanchette Bears. My bad.
And then after that, you will see us in the parking lot going live for a post-game show, Beavers Bears, and you can catch that. You can catch that breakdown of the game on. Maybe we'll just, do it on here or whatever. I'm kidding. But, yeah, I haven't been back to a high school game in a long time. And to watch your niece play, it's always better, knowing someone out there. I'm excited, and that's super cool. What an accomplishment for her. She should feel good about that.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks again for liking, subscribing. We already said that shit. With that being said, Hanno, you know what time it is. Charge.
about that?